Okay, good. We've got the mute off. No, we have got the mute off. Good evening, everybody. Now, these candidates and ghosts here are campaigning on why they should become your next electoral candidate for the Palmerston North electorate. But with every election, there's one thing stepping in their way, and that's your vote. And kia ora, good evening, and welcome to tonight's It's in the Ballot show, live here from the Swear Art Community Centre in Palmerston North. So we have got 2 candidates here, and we've got 4 no-shows. So when it comes to your electoral vote, well, we already know who we recommend. Those who turn up on It's in the Ballot should get priority to those that don't turn up on It's in the Ballot. And that's just our motto. We practice and preach that at last local body elections. I personally did. So let's kick off with Teanua Tuiono. Your opening statements of why the Palmerston North voters should give their electoral vote to you this election.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm going for the party vote. But if the electoral vote is going to do it for you as well, please give me that. If that helps to convince you to give me the party vote, a vote for the Greens is a vote for climate and community. It's a vote for people and planet, people before profit. We see a world where everyone should have enough food on the table, be able to keep the lights on, and have a warm, healthy home. That's what we need for our whānau, for our friends, and for our community. They also need to have a clean environment and a stable climate as well. And so those are the things that we are prioritising within this election. We have also, for a long time, been advocates for passenger rail as well. So we put a letter forward to the government to make sure that we had to improve the capital connection, and it's glad to see that there's some of those hybrid carriages that are coming through as well, electrification of buses as well. Party vote Green.
Thank you for that. Next up, Michael, your opening statement of why the Palmerston North voters should give you their electoral vote.
Yeah, just like Tuiono, I'm Mike Harnett. I'm representing ACT here as the candidate Palmerston North for ACT. I've been born and raised in Palmerston North. I've been a physiotherapist in Palmerston North for 27 years. I actually studied overseas more than I studied in New Zealand. I did 1 degree in Aotearoa University. I did 1 degree at McMaster University in Canada and Ontario. And I did a master's degree at Griffiths University, all in health and physiotherapy. Really, again, we're after the party vote, but as a candidate, I put my hand up for ACT because I believe that the ACT values are the values that fit with myself and the way I live. And the ACT values are about freedom. The ACT values are about freedom of thought, freedom of expression, and equal rights under the law by all people, for one person, for one vote. Go party vote.
Okay, thank you. And we do have apologies from Ankit Bansal, the national candidate, who gave apologies within the last 24 hours when was sent the latest one of the multitude of emails going out there. We've had no response from Tangi, Utikere, and I'm not exactly sure what the story is with Dean Grant or Douglas Big, but as they were very last minute nominations, and including I didn't even know they were nominated because they weren't even in our latest update in graphics. So let's kick over to the Electorate video. The Electorate video, the freestyle Electorate video. This is how we're doing things at the moment. When we're a bit pressed for time, we're going to sit there and record it live. We're ready to go. When we get there, we'll have it pop up on the screen. Okay, there we are. So the Palmerston North electorate is the only enclave electorate in New Zealand, where it is surrounded by one electorate of Rangitikere. Very unique, very easy to sit there and do it, and covers most of the boundaries of Palmerston North Palmerston North, but it does exclude Massey University.
Nah, Massey's in Rangitikere.
Yeah, I thought it was in Rangitikere. No, just looking on the map, I was unsure. So they managed to squeeze 65,000 people approximately into that little space. Heck, there's a lot of people here. No, gee, I feel, you could sit there and say it's, 3 times the size of Karori. Yeah, so that's the electorate there. And now we get on to the fun part, the questions we think you'll be asking after watching tonight's show. Please get the camera on the screen. Oh, okay. I think I put that into the wrong slot, but that's all good. Are the days of rental investment properties over, having the returns like the share market, the tax deductions like a GST registered business at the risk levels of an interest-bearing savings account at the bank? Is New Zealand ready to become a referendum nation each and every election? And will Palmerston North soon be 90 minutes away from Wellington with a brand new high-speed rail? Hopefully those questions can sit there and do that, and we make sure that every question for the questions we're thinking about asking tomorrow is different from every single show. So with It's in the Ballot here, we have 28 boxes here with questions in them, and each candidate, not like I'm sure it's really going to be a bit of a interesting one of that, where each candidate has 2 button cards and 1 defer the question to another candidate. Now, it's a bit interesting with 2 candidates, they've really got a choice, but you can defer it to a candidate who's actually not turned up here. And feel free to do so, because we need to set, then in another Meet the Candidates that people are watching here online, they can hit them up and ask them what their answer is. So I'm going to have the fun part of moving up, moving around, and that's the graphic I want on screen, and get to the fun part. So, who should go first? Okay. Yep. What box number would you like to pick?
13.
13, okay.
13.
Yes, it's been a little bit of a while I've done this. Okay, so we've got F for Foxtrot. I'm trying to remember my phonetic alphabet from the good old ATC days. Current information from overseas indicate that vaping is not a healthier alternative to smoking. Children of primary school ages are becoming addicted. What is your party's plan to address this concern?
Am I able to defer that?
Yeah, which candidate is not here?
The first one, man.
To national, but then I'll have a go at it.
Have a go.
The health that is a major health concern if that is true. Brooke Van Veldhoven.
Please hold the microphone closer.
Brooke Van Velden is our a spokeswoman for health. I'm sure she's got more to say about this than I would, but certainly these are the things that we don't want. What we were trying to do with vaping was to allow people to wean themselves off smoking for good health reasons. But unfortunately, it seems to have gone a bit haywire with now becoming the trend to actually be a vapor. So I think that we really actually have to make a good stance politically at some stage to educate the people. And I think education will be the key, and early education, especially if it's happening in primary school.
Thank you. Okay, Tuiono, what's number?
Number 21.
Number 21, okay. And H for hotel. And that's the one there. Do you think New Zealand has coped well with the COVID-19 pandemic? What lessons have we learned?
I think one of the lessons that we need to continue to learn, is to listen to immunocompromised and disabled whānau. they were the most impacted people through this crisis, along with making sure that we continue to listen to essential workers as well, and as we've moved through the pandemic as well. There are certain things that we can continue to do to make sure that there's public health measures. So, for example, ventilation within schools, having better air ventilation within schools as well, and making sure that that's part of new builds, I think, is also another thing that we can do as well. And then also being able to access antivirals. I know that's an issue for some for immunocompromised and disabled whānau as well. So making sure that that's possible works.
Okay, Mike, what box number?
19.
19. Oh, don't want to lose that one there. Okay, X for xylophone. Or I think phonetic alphabet, I think it's X-ray. Oh, you've got the tablet. Okay, that saves me on that one. Okay, the future of local government report says the current local government funding and finance system is already under pressure, is not sustainable. How is your party going to respond to the issue?
Yeah, that's a good issue, and that's one that ACT is actually very concerned about. And we already have made in our policies that we will be allowing the government, the local government, to take 50% of the GST of all consents and all building requirements, to give them another source of funding. And the other thing that we're also looking at doing is doing a partnership between central government and local government to create a 30-year agreement between the two to be able to support the financial needs of the local government. Because the way it's happening at the moment, like I would agree with this, that it isn't really sustainable, and we do need to look at new methods of fixing it.
Okay, Teanua, what box number?
Number 8.
Number 8. I like that, not choosing the front row.
Maybe if the Warriors had better options in the back row, we might have woken up a bit happier this morning.
Okay, I for Igloo. Property buyers often outbid first home buyers at auctions. How would you encourage those investors to switch to more productive investments?
How would you encourage these investors to switch to more productive investments? Well, we have we've put a rental a pledge to renters within this election cycle. So we know that it's, regardless of whether you're renting or you own a home, that everybody deserves to have a warm, healthy home. But also people need to have certainty in terms of rent as well. So we would also have rent caps, and rental controls is a really important part of that, so that people have that certainty, and we would tie that to a certain percentage of inflation as well. Because what we know is when something happens, and then making sure that doesn't get passed on to the tenants is really, really important. So yeah, maybe that would encourage them to switch to more productive investments, because that would mean that more renters, more people be able to own homes.
Okay, and you want to use your button card?
I agree with Teanua now, but I'd also like to say that with ACT, we are going to be getting rid of the bright line test. We're also going to bring interest on your loans to be tax deductible. And the thing is that I think what's happened with the with investors is they've been looked to be the enemy, whereas we do need, and we always will need, rentals. So they will always be a part of our building environment, what we need. And exactly the way Teanua said, we need to have them to build warm, good houses for people to be able to rent. And I don't believe that that's the real reason why other people can't get into the housing market. What we need to do is we need to decrease interest rates by decreasing inflation. We need to decrease building costs, so the costs are cheaper. We need to open up more land, so we have more land that is available. And one of the things I was reading just the other day, Aotearoa,
finish it up. Yeah,
Aotearoa, where they're saying they're going to have to build sections out there. But I'm very much maybe in a green mind there, that I'd much rather us move out to the hills and go into the more less fertile land in Manawatu than to take up the Kairinga loam and all the other RD1 beautiful soils that we have out towards Longburn and out towards Kairinga.
Okay, now before we want to get there, I want to ask a little bit of a quick fire question because I think it's appropriate here. Currently, when you ride in a taxi, the vehicle must have a COF. If you do not have a COF, you cannot charge fares for it. Should rental properties have tax deductions tied to, say, a valid warrant of fitness to make sure that they actually are maintaining the property and not just claiming the expenses or claiming paper expenses?
I'll take it. I think that's a good idea. I think that's that's gone a long way.
Like
I think
a rental warrant of fitness
tied to tax deductions. So, like, if you have a landlord who doesn't maintain the property but tells the IRD they're maintaining the property, they're getting the tax benefits by saying they're writing off the maintenance, but they're not actually doing the job.
Yeah.
So, and in turn, that leads to, whereas if you had rental warrant of fitness, like if your car's got bald tires, your car will not pass a warrant of fitness or a COF, so you cannot drive it on the road. So if your house isn't actually up to fitness state, you should be given, say 12 months to bring it up to code. And if it's not up to code, why should you get that privileges associated with a rental property if you're providing a derelict service?
Yeah, I think that's must be quite ideologic. That I think it wouldn't be tied to their tax deductibility, but it could be tied to fines. It could be tied to other things that occur. So you could have penalties in there, which is what you're asking for. I just don't think making the IRS become the policeman.
You mean the IRD?
Sorry, the IRD becoming the policeman for rental and the banks doing that. I don't really think that's the way forward.
Yeah, we would support a rental warrant of fitness. That's important. Whether you would that would create the behaviour change that the example that you were giving is one question. But in terms of the interest deductibility within our clean power payment policy, a part of that is about I'll just talk really quickly and briefly about that. We want to provide startup grants along with no interest loans so that people can have the funds to, for solar panels, for heat pumps, and insulation, and those sorts of things. So we would make those improvements part of interest deductibility for landlords because that would incentivize getting those improvements made on their homes.
Thank you. Okay, who's next up for box numbers? Okay, what box number?
I'll take number 23 because I was always a reserve on the rugby team, so there's normally the jersey on my back.
Oh, so that's an awkward number. Okay. O for octopus. In what way or ways can New Zealand lead the world?
Yeah, that's quite good. It takes me to Little Britain, O for octopus, when the guy said, "Oh, I'm always mixing my pussies with my pies." Okay.
I think the phonetic one's Oscar, but yeah, it was like the first O word that came to my head.
It's cool. That's cool. Yeah. So how can we lead? Well, we're already leading the world in agriculture, and we're already leading the world in being green with our agriculture. We're one of the most efficient producers in the world, and I think that there's more room for improvement. I think with new technology and under more pressure from the Greens, I think that our agriculture could improve even further and we could lead the world even further. And I think it's a real bright future for us to go ahead with that. I think the other thing that I was saying the other day to the university when the union lost a lot of their jobs, that the world is changing very, very quickly. And now students, the rate at university attendance at the moment is 30%, because the students can go anywhere in the world to get their lectures now. They can go to the best professors, they can go to the best conventions, they just have to get online. Okay, so that's one of the things we've got to do. So what we have to do is we can turn that around. If we become the best educators in the world, we can have the world come to us for education. Bang on the button.
Yeah, I got a button card here. I agree with the sentiment that with pressure from the Greens, that will make agriculture a stronger sector here within Aotearoa, New Zealand. But the future is in low emissions, high value products. This focus that we have on just on producing dairy milk powder can only last so long, and it's just a really small part of it. What we need to be doing is actually moving towards more regenerative and organic products, along with all the other parts that actually make sure that when we do our agriculture, it's good for the planet, it's good for the environment. That's where the market is going to be moving around the world. Low emissions, high value products, because that's people get it around the world that we need to have products that are good for the climate and good for the environment.
Thank you. And leading initiative for voters to know what the candidates stand on is it's in the ballot.
What's that, sorry?
World leading initiative for voters to know where their candidates stand on and when they're when they can watch it in their own time. I think that might be better wording.
It's a good plug for you.
Yeah. I quite like the response. It was like, oh heck, that feels so. It's in the ballot. Yeah. Teanua, what box number?
Number 14.
So number 14. Okay. S for Zaira. How is your party going to stop the increasing decline in children's dental health?
Free dental care. So we announced a free dental plan for everybody, and would get that. We costed it out on a wealth tax because we know it doesn't make sense that actually dental care sits outside of the health sector. Everything else is included, and for some reason dental care is on the outside of it. And people that have bad teeth, particularly when you get older, and I'm getting older, if you don't take care of your teeth, it has a whole lot of flow-on impacts on other and helps and it exacerbates underlying health conditions. That's why for us, from our perspective, it's important to do that, because it leads to other detrimental health impacts as well. So I know that from talking to some older constituents, that's a real issue for them. They can't afford to go. Actually, anyone in this room afford to go to the dentist? It is so you can afford.
No, I can't.
No, you can't afford.
Oh,
You know
no,
what I'm saying. It's really,
yeah.
really expensive, and
Yeah.
it would be. I think it would be great for us to have that.
And I can personally did that. My grandma's 95. Her advice was, yes, it's expensive, but spend the money on a root canal. And I did do that because she sat there and said, I wish I didn't have teeth pulled out in my 20s, which are missing now still at 95. So that was something that she said, do the investment. And my dad sat there and said he got over 30 years out of them. So that's a decent period of time before they needed to be touched up, which, that's Dad's case, it's half his life. So that's something. So, those sorts of smart decisions can be made with, and yeah, I mean, I did have to pay for it out of the business.
Can I ask how much did that cost?
It was about $1,800.
$1,800.
Yeah, for one tooth. That was four treatments, so 4 different sessions. And I thank goodness to the August 2021 lockdown that actually delayed one of the treatment costs, which gave me time to build up money, because I was one of those lucky people who got to work all the way through lockdown and get to drive all around Wellington where there was no traffic on the road. So yeah, including the traffic lights from Teanua all the way to Melling, I got them all green. Anyone who knows State Highway 2 know that never happens. Yeah. So Mike, what box number? Number 5. Okay, Z for Zulu. John F. Kennedy, quote, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Do you agree with that quote, and why?
Yeah, I actually think it was a great quote at the time. And I think that what he was trying to say to the American people was to stop taking the victim mentality and stop being a victim and putting your hand out and saying to America, oh, you've got to give me something all the time. Is to turn around, and what he was trying to do, he was doing everything to ensure a good environment to be productive, so people can get out there and work, be productive, be entrepreneurial, and be rewarded for their hard work. And that's one of the things that I think that ACT really stands for, and it's a value by which we stand by.
Thank you. Teanua, what box number?
Number 11.
Number 11. Gee, I like this. Not always choosing the front row. I really like this.
We're always sticking up for the little guy. That's us, the Greens.
Oh, you're going to like this one. B for Bravo. Do you believe that 16-year-olds have the maturity to vote?
Yes, I do. We support the Make It 16 campaign. No taxation without representation. You have 16-year-olds that are working, you can get a driver's license. There's so many things that you can do when you're 16 as well. And also, we're in the middle of a climate crisis as well. This is the generation that will experience, who are experiencing catastrophic climate change. So having them, give them the ability to have a voice in terms of making that vote is important. So totally support them.
Okay. Mike, what box number? 12. Okay.
How many questions do we usually get if there's a whole smorgasbord of people?
Last night, each candidate got 5 questions, and there was got 5 questions. 25 questions went through, and we fitted in from 7 to I think it was just after 8 o'clock, and they made very good use of the buttons and all sorts of things there. It was a very, very good show. Okay, in for November. Over the past few years, New Zealand has suffered from many forms of division. How would your party reconnect people and heal the divide so we are a united country once again?
Good question. I think we're divided on many different things. I think we're divided on co-governance. I think we're divided on the mandates. I think that's really hurting people and has continued to hurt people. I'll let you know that ACT was the only party that voted against the mandates. We were vax or test. But at the end of the day, we need to reinvigorate our democracy. In fact, what ACT proposes, we go back to 1840 to the Treaty of Waitangi. We look at the articles of the Treaty of Waitangi, all 3 of them. We set our democracy again on that, and we build that, we put it into legislation, and then we don't pass that as a law. We put that to the people to decide with a referendum. Also, the other thing I think we need to do is get back to democratically elected officials, okay, in council and in government, because they're the people that they're vulnerable to being voted out when they want to be voted out, or we can vote them out when we need to.
Okay, Teanua wants to use his button card.
Yeah, well, we support Te Tiriti or Waitangi. It's part of the fabric of our constitution within the Greens. But it's important to remember that it was the Māori version that was signed by people. It was overwhelmingly signed by over 300 and more rangatira that signed the Māori version of the Te Tiriti or Waitangi. Very few. 13 signed the English version as well. So totally support us using that text. And if you look at it from the context of the contra preferentum rule, perspective is if you have anything which can be read, which has some ambiguity about it, then it must be read from the perspective of the person that did not draft the text. And in this case, it's the Māori version. The Māori version is the version that has been held up in courts. It's the version that we also recognise through many pieces of legislation within Parliament.
And you've got the next box number.
I go for number 1.
Okay.
To the top.
Okay. R for Romeo.
Romeo. Sounds so romantic.
Well, that's the phonetic alphabet of
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It's probably not a romance question.
Actually, before we go, if you had a Zulu Kilo, Papa India Golf, landed in airport, what is it?
What's that again?
Zulu Kilo, Papa India Golf.
Zulu Kilo.
So Zulu Kilo is New Zealand's aeroplane's New Zealand registration. Papa India Golf. What's landed at the airport?
Helicopter? I don't know. I'm guessing, man.
A flying pig.
A flying pig. Oh, I thought you were talking about real aircrafts.
And apparently the rego, I don't think the rego number exists. The rego letters exist either. Yeah, these are things you learnt from when I did ATC back in the days when I was half my age. Okay.
And viewers, that is something that I have learnt tonight.
Yeah, it's only air hostess that tend
I'm not going to
send-
remember it, but I've learned it.
Okay, so Alpha Romeo on the question sheet. Rest homes are losing registered nurses to Te Whatu Ora as they're unable to match their pay packet. Do you think that pay packets for registered nurses should be equatable across all sectors of healthcare?
Well, we think we need a resourcing bump right across the health sector because it's been underfunded for so long. Workers need to be paid properly, so I totally support all the work that unions have been doing to make sure that they've got better pay and work conditions for their workers here as well. So it's not I don't think it's a case of taking off one lot and giving it to the other. You've got to make sure that it's working right across the sector.
Okay, Mike, what box number? Oh, a fair bit. Number 2. Okay. U for uniform. Is government spending on cycling and cycleways a waste of money? Please explain your reasoning.
Some is, some isn't. To spend $50 million on consultants to try and build a bridge across the harbour bridge for cycling was a complete and utter waste of money. And they knew it was useless before they even started, but they did it anyway. So that's the first thing. Like, don't waste money trying to do stuff that's never going to work anyway. The other thing is, though, that the cycleways around Palmerston North, around Manawatu, I think are outstanding. They're great for recreation, for people to be able to get outdoors and experience the outdoors, which I think is very, very important for people to work with. I think moving forward, we would continue to do that and continue to push for that. That's all I'd say.
And yes, I got my first experience today on Main Road cycle lane, and it's quite impressive, and it's similar to the Cambridge Terrace one that I'm used to seeing in Wellington.
Main Street, Palmerston North.
Yes,
you're on the
yeah,
cyclone.
the Pioneer Highway, Main Street. Is it Pioneer Highway or Main Street near the warehouse?
Yeah, Main Street. Yeah. We had
Yeah.
car free day the other day, and we went out on our bikes and cruised around down by Aotearoa Bridge, and it was a marvellous day.
Mm.
One thing I would say, which is really, really concerning to me, because I live in Longburn and I used to cycle down Rongatia Road and places like that. They're very, very dangerous places, and we've had a lot of people killed along there. I think there's at least 5 or 6 people being killed along between where I live in Longburn and Palmerston North in the last 10 years.
Cyclists.
Cyclists, motorcyclists, and especially that Rongatia.
The Rongatia Longburn intersection.
Road. No, Rongatia Rongbu Road. To Rongatia, there's a lot of cyclists go out there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Mm.
And yeah, I did know
so
that.
I cringe every time I see people, and cars don't stop for cyclists. So it is a real concern.
Yeah.
I think in rural communities, definitely.
Yeah, and I've driven down that road because it's usually the nice bypass to get around Palmerston North if you want to do 100 k's. But you're right, it's people roaring past you 100 k's is not particularly safe, and some people don't like the patience there, and some people don't like slamming on their brakes to 50 k's to safely pass.
Yeah, I mean, if you got better planning, right? Like better planning, town planning, you do density wells, and have the cycleways and supporting public and active transport, and that's all part of your planning. And of course, safety is a core part of that. That's what we should be doing.
Which council is Longburn, Rongatia Road, Manawatu, or
Rangitikei? Yeah.
Oh, Electorate. I mean, District Council. Is that?
Yeah, Manawatu District Council.
So it's outside the limits. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that would play a bit because that council's.
No, hang on. No, because where I live now is in the Manawatu City Council. No, it's within the Manawatu City.
Palmerston North City Council boundaries.
But it's still in the Rangitikei.
Rangitikei Electorate. Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, I was just wondering. Yeah.
Changed about 4 years ago, I think.
The last boundary change. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. I understand that. Teanua, what box number?
It's like they're not even leaving the table this time.
No, I'm just moving them forward.
All right. Number 17.
Number 17. It's 17's a prime number, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's all right. Random useful facts we can have from the show. Okay, W for whiskey, also part of the phonetic alphabet. What would you do financially to assist local government to fix pipes and infrastructure?
Pipes and infrastructure. In our climate
Microphone.
in our climate safety, climate safe communities climate policy announcement, we've got a bit in there around about over $700 million, which is about making sure that we can support towns and councils to be more climate resilient. Because when you build climate resilience, and so, for example, supporting cities to daylight streams, but then also provide the planting as well, that helps in flood protection, which is really important, particularly when you think about it in the context of what happened in Auckland during the Auckland anniversary earlier this year, and also what happened over the hill.
Okay, Mike, what box number?
15.
15. Yes, 15 still available. Okay, J for Juliet. Very similar. What would you do to financially assist local government to fix the pipes and infrastructure?
Well, what ACT has said is we're going to change the funding plan to provide councils with half the GST and all the consents and all the processing that allows that funding, that gives them the money that available for doing the infrastructure. At present, central government decides to open up an area, and the government, and then the local governments meant them provide the funding for the infrastructure, and that can really put a lot of stress on the council. So we've got to change that. Also, like I said before, we're going into a 30-year partnership with councils and central government in partnership to be able to fund together those sort of situations to do that.
Okay. Teanua, what box number?
25.
25. Okay. G for golf. What is your stance on the export of live animals?
The legislation was passed in the House. Geez, was it last year or the year before? Previously in the House, and we supported the stopping of the export, live exports.
Okay. Mike, what box number?
9.
9. Okay, letter E for echo. The Future of Local Government report says a significant fund is also needed to support climate change adaptation activities. How is your party going to respond to this issue?
Yeah, well, I think that's a scam. Okay, I think that local government New Zealand was paid $2 million by the New Zealand government to push that, and it needs a big shake-up, and local government New Zealand needs a big shake-up. I would say that emergencies sometimes are caused by climate, but that doesn't mean there's a climate emergency. And we need far more scientific evidence and data to do that. And we need to look at the needs. Well, what happened in Palmerston North, they actually took $1 million off the ratepayers to go into promoting this green agenda, and half the stuff that should be assessed is still not being assessed by these consultants. I asked them myself personally, and they have no idea.
Thank you. What box number, Teanua?
3.
Okay, Y for Yankee. In your opinion, what do you think will be the main issue that will decide this election?
The main issue, cost of living. You know, people are feeling the pinch. Low income, no income families as well. As I'm particularly concerned about making sure that everybody can have enough have enough food to put on the table, keep the lights on, and have a warm home. And you know, and also a dream for their kids, a dream for their tamariki and for their mokopuna. I think that's what I'm hearing when I'm going around and talking to folks as well. They're concerned about the future. They're also concerned about the climate as well. People want certainty. They want us to take climate action. They know that climate change is caused by by humans in particular, the burning of fossil fuels, and they want us to mitigate our climate emissions, but also to support people, to towns and councils to adapt to climate change as well. And that is what the science is telling us, and the Greens support the science.
Okay, Mike, what box number?
16.
16.
Oh, I did that one.
Sorry?
I'm sorry, I'm kidding.
It's all good.
18.
Okay. AA as in Alpha Alpha. What will your party do about regulating the introduction of artificial intelligence? There's been some very interesting Doctor Who episodes about this.
You're asking the most ignorant guy on IT that most we have and any candidate in New Zealand, I would say. But the interesting thing is that Elon Musk the other day said that AI is basically going to cost 300 million jobs in the world in the next few years. So he was having a very urgent meeting with Americans, and I think we've got to most probably look at where they go, see what they're doing, see where we can go with that. Because one, it is an amazingly exciting thing to be able to do, because it's going to be able to get jobs. I know a builder told me the other day that an architect was able to draw up a whole building within the space of 5 minutes using AI, whereas normally taking 3 weeks or something like that. So it's really exciting. It's amazing how well the world's going to be changing, but we do have to regulate it. We don't have the experience. We don't have the knowledge to do that at the moment. So we're really going to have to look to the whole world to see where we're going.
Okay. Teanua, what box number?
Number 7.
Number 7. Okay. D for Delta. What will your party review the relationship and sexuality education, RSE, in primary schools?
Well, we support our rainbow community and particularly our rainbow youth, and I'm thinking here of our trans youth. So making sure that we can do everything that we can do to support them, both in the community but also in schools, is very important for the Greens.
Mike, what box number? 22. Okay. Okay, M for Mike. Yeah, another phonetic alphabet. How has New Zealand changed since you were a child? Has it changed for the better?
That's a really interesting question.
How long ago was it?
Yeah, 65 years ago. So when I was a child, I actually drove the steam trains on the railway land when the railway was in the middle of Palmerston, and I drove on those steam trains through the middle of Palmerston, and we went out laying gravel because I was with my dad. I was 5 years old with my dad laying gravel on the railway lines through Masterton. So it's changed.
So no internet then?
No internet.
Did you have to ring up the operator and make a phone call?
No telephone. No telephone. We had a telephone box outside our house, and that telephone box, there's a little baby left in there. It was a program the other day on TV1, and that was right outside our place. And that was before I was born. So my mother had 5 daughters, didn't have any sons, so she was thinking of adopting that. But then I came along, so it saved the day, didn't it? Even when I was at university, my first university, I had to do my stats. I had to borrow a calculator because the calculators were like $500 off the office. Yeah, and I'll keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, I had to borrow that off there. I had to use a slide rule to do my calculations, and it took me 3 weeks to do my stats. My second degree, in 1994, when I did my stats, it took me 20 minutes to do the same stats, and I just couldn't believe how much that worked. Now it would take 3 or 4 minutes, bang, it'd be done. It's just incredible how things have moved and how fast things have gone. Yeah, so it's quite amazing.
My 6th great-grandfather is Richard Trevithick.
And who is he?
World's first steam engine.
Great.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, when you mentioned about the steam train.
I thought James Watt.
Oh, it depends which book you read, but the painting work is in New Zealand. So it was George Stephenson documentation through Britain happened first, but Richard Trevithick time-wise happened first, but took longer to document it because it happened in South America.
Am I allowed to make an observation? Just
Go ahead.
on my travels, I'm Irish. I'm an Irish Catholic, and I'm a Scottish Catholic actually as well. So on my travels, I went to Scotland and I went to Ireland, and it's amazing. You go to Ireland, and they're all the poets and they're the playwrights and they're lovely people and everything's lovely. Okay, and every time there's a problem, it's just the troubles. When you go to Scotland, they're right? That's it. They've invented almost everything. They've invented the telephone. They've invented the steam engine. They've done so many things.
Yeah.
So many things that they've done, and they just seem to be the science based. And they're both Celts, and the Irish seem to be the playwrights and the lovely people.
Okay, Teanua, what box number?
26.
26.
26.
Do you remember having that talking about was it train line going through the middle of town on the way up today?
You see old pictures of it. So
Yeah.
When did they get rid of that?
About 1967, I think.
Oh, 67. Jeez.
Yeah, I saw the when the first train went on the Milson deviation. I've seen the archive footage of it. It's quite amazing just watching the black and white footage of the when the line opened, and it was just like, why couldn't they just let the passenger go to the city? Because I do know there's a substation on Pioneer Highway. At the time it was built to have the capable of the 1500 DC volt circuit for the Wellington electric trains on provision of them extending the railway line from Paikakariki all the way to Palmerston North. In the 1940s, they were thinking that was going to happen within the 50s. But, I mean, well,
Yeah. Well,
we know we've got two different systems in the country now.
Yeah. Well, we're into bringing about regional rail. I was just thinking about talking to someone down in Whanganui and how they needed to be able to get to the hospital. You know what I mean? But if you can't drive,
Yeah.
having been able to get on a train from Whanganui and getting as close as you can to the hospital would be real handy.
Yeah. Okay. Numbers, was it C for Charlie? With the downturn in the economy, many small businesses are struggling to stay afloat. Has your party got any policies that will assist them through these tough times?
Well, with the clean power payment that I was talking about earlier, what we want to do is recycle that money from the ETS to for startup grants, but also no interest loans. But it will require people to it will require jobs to make their solar panels, to do all this kind of work as well. So that is one way for us to invest in good clean energy, but also there's another piece in there around energy independence and energy sovereignty, if I can put it that way as well, and making sure that people can have jobs which are renewable. Yeah.
Okay, we've got a button card.
Yeah, I think nothing against that, but I think we've ripped the guts out of this government has ripped the guts out of the small business and businesses over the last 3 years. They're really hurting, and people I'm talking to are really struggling, and it's quite sad. And we have massive inflation, we have high interest rates, and that's destroying them. So if we want to fix small business in New Zealand, there's the two major things we have to do. We have to bring inflation down, and we have to bring interest rates down so they actually make a living. Also, on top of that, what ACT's going to do is bring down tax so they don't have to pay as much tax, so they can be more productive, and they'll be more productive because they're actually getting to keep more of the money they have worked very hard to get. So it's very important. In my day, when I first started in business 46 years ago, after 10 years, I said, if I ever see a businessman driving around in a really flash car, I'll never, ever be jealous of him, because I know that he's most probably worked for $5 an hour to pay for that car. That's how hard he's worked. And I still take that to this day.
I certainly know that with my business, 30 grand worth of losses brought forward sitting in there at the moment. So I know that, and I'd say it's been a long, hard slog, including quite a few years of $17,000 a year annual income just to keep because that's just how it goes sometimes. Yeah. Okay, Teanua, what? Oh no, Mike, what box number? Yeah, 24. I think we all were in this room at some point. Anyone who hasn't reached 24 yet?
You're not 24 yet? Young fella, you.
Okay. K for kilo. What is your party's policy on gun control? Do do you support a gun register that was established?
Hello, gun control and act. That's us. We've got our own policy. We're bringing in our own law. Hopefully, we're bringing it in. No, we don't support gun registers. Gun registration did nothing. It's a big waste of money. And the problem is it didn't target the criminals who had the guns that weren't registered. And we never got those. And we never got those with the legislation that we did. It was a knee-jerk reaction and based on a tragic event that occurred. And we can't make that any less than what it was, because it was a massive tragic effect. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to have licensed gun owners, and we're going to really push the licensed gun owners. They are going to be there. We are going to allow different types of registration, especially for with shooting ranges and that sort of thing, because they've been devastated with this new gun law. They've had to close down, so we're going to do that. We're also going to take the licensing off police. Police have got way too busy doing other things. We're going to have our own gun registry, and we're going to police it.
Sounds ambitious.
It's done.
Okay, what
10.
box? 10. A for Alpha. What is a quality that you admire in one of your fellow candidates?
Well, I admire how they're invisible right now. I'm talking about the National and the Labour Party candidates who didn't bother to show up. Invisibility, it's a superpower, people. There you go.
I was like looking at the cards, like, oh, okay. What box number? 6. Okay, V for Violin. How effective do you consider the government's intervention / action on youth offending has been?
Abysmal. I've never seen it so bad in New Zealand, and even in Palmerston North, I've never seen it so bad. And I was just talking to a shop owner the other day. His wife was knocked out. He was stabbed in the arm, and his worker was also assaulted. And that guy there is working 100 hours a week, and that's just unacceptable in New Zealand. The one thing that any government should start with is having a safe community. Full stop. There's no argument to that, and that's what we have to do. So what are we doing? Well, we're bringing in a lot of strict laws. We're bringing 3 strikes back into the system. We are building 500 new beds. We are taking the youth crime away from Orangatamariki, and we're putting it into corrections, because Orangatamariki is about putting help around the individual, not looking after criminals. And so we want the criminals looked after corrections. We're going to put bracelets on.
And we have a button.
Yeah, I think it's really important for us to sort of work to use things that work. The research tells us if you punish people, particularly young people, that's not going to work, particularly if you are dealing with vulnerable young people or young people that have mental health issues. So if people have mental health issues, what you want to do is wrap mental health support around them, and have to really think about whether this punitive way of doing things is going to work, because the research doesn't tell us that will, but also acknowledging that things need to be done so that people do feel safe in our communities, because that's so important. So also being able to address the underlying inequities of poverty, which can cause people to fall off the wagon because the home life pot is not as stable as it possibly could be, and making sure that that support is there, particularly for our young people, I think is important.
Okay, Teanua, what box number?
We're running out of Maui. 20.
20. Okay. T for Tango.
Teeth.
What's the average house price of this electorate, can I ask?
Jeez, I don't know, mate.
Yeah, no, only because I have seen this pop up in a Haru last night as well. My fiance and I are concerned that we'll never be able to afford a property in the electorate we grew up. What are you doing to make housing in this area affordable and accessible for first home buyers?
And just in Palmerston North?
Yes, well, we're in Palmerston North electorate.
There has been multiple conversations around things around capital gains tax, around making sure that we support the building of median density housing all around the country, which is something that we would support. And I was just thinking about the way, and I think, I'm not sure, someone brought it up around the issue around urban sprawl, and I was thinking of Waikato, or as people in South Auckland call it, South Auckland, because it's just sprawling out that way, and actually that land is some of the most fertile land in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and we should actually be using it for food production as well. So making sure that we do density well to encourage people to understand that, and planning towns and cities around communities as opposed to just cars is an important part of that.
Keep finishing.
Yeah, I think that would help to address some of the issues, but we do have to do something about property speculation in this country. And
we've got another button. I do think we've probably gone over the limit, but I don't give a damn. I like the answers.
Okay, so one of the things we're going to do is change the government. Okay, we're going to decrease government spending, we're going to decrease bureaucrats, we're going to decrease inflation, we're going to decrease interest rates, we're going to decrease taxation, and we're going to decrease the cost of building. Thanks for coming.
Okay, well, I didn't expect the camera to be on me that quick. Okay, what box number?
27.
27.
We're getting there.
Okay, P for Papa. Do you think New Zealand should investigate having an independent commissioner against corruption, as in New South Wales, also known as an ICAC?
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because New Zealand is one of the lowest countries for corruption in the OECD, but that's because they don't have a corruption minister. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in a minister of red tape, and I think that's most constructive. Because with the Minister of Red Tape, we're going to cut out all the useless laws, we're going to cut out all the red tape that's binding and just clogging up the system. And in that time when we come through and go through all that red tape, surely we're going to pick up a lot of the corruption that may be occurring. I don't know how much corruption there is there, and I don't even know whether there is any corruption, but if there is, I think the Red Tape Minister will be the person for that job to do that and bring that out.
Could one of those laws be your car must have seatbelts but doesn't have to have seats?
Yeah. Well, in California, it's interesting, because you must have a seatbelt in your car, but it's your individual right whether you want to use it or not.
Yeah, over here, your car must have seatbelts, but doesn't actually have to have seats. Yeah, it's quite weird. It's some hangover from the seatbelt legislation from the 1950s. But yeah, there's this random piece of law that typically your back seats of the cars tend to be where you get away with it. But if you remove the seats from the back seat of your car, as long as you remove the seatbelts, then you don't have to make sure they work. There's little things there, and I learnt that from when I configured a steamer for doing coffee. Took out all the seatbelts, but there was one that was in there, but the wrong guy ignored it.
You are full of gems tonight.
I know.
So
You've got to walk out of here, not walking out with more knowledge than walking in. And that's what we like here. That's the point of It's in the Ballot. We educate our voters.
That's excellent.
Yeah. Teanua, what box number?
4.
Okay. Q for Quebec. How are you going to address the cost of living crisis?
Wealth tax. We want to use the wealth tax to fund an income guarantee, free dental health care, free lunches for our tamariki. Here in Palmerston North as well, we know that it's a student town. Massey's just right up there as well, and I'm reflecting on the People's Inquiry that Chloe Swarbrick led on our side with student unions, where it found that 2/3 of students experience poverty and hardship. And so being able to address that, making sure that people, if you're going to go to university, you're not broke and hungry, is a good thing. And it's a good thing because we have so many shortages out there: teacher shortage, nursing shortage, so many worker shortages out there, that if we had an income guarantee for students, that would help them to go to university without being hungry or living in cold, mouldy, damp homes.
Okay. Mike, what box number? Since it'll be your last. Okay. L for Lima. What is your party's position on how local government rating reform should be delivered?
Well, the rating reforms, yeah, personally, I don't believe rating or paying rates is going to be the answer to moving forward. And I believe there has to be more input from central government. And I believe I've already spoken to this before in this platform, where we're going to be giving half the GST on all the consents and all the outgoings of the council to the council, so it's going to increase their income. And I think that is a start. I think we need to actually push even further forward with that, and we need to actually revolutionise the way councils actually operate. And I think the guy Brown, the mayor of Auckland, actually has some amazingly good ideas of what he wants to do. He did call people idiots the other day. I think that may be a little bit over the top. I don't think that's how you influence people and get them on your side. But end of the day, I think he's actually opening up a platform for us to have a discussion, and we need to do it.
And I watched his last Q&A interview, and I agreed with everything he said on that interview, which is quite unusual for me to necessarily do that. But, you know, yes, yeah, it didn't feel like your typical interview, that one, but Wayne Brown just went straight to the talking points, straight to what he thought, all that sort of stuff. There was no to-ing and froing. He just said what needed to be said.
I thought Jack was very tame in that. He wasn't his aggressive self. I don't know why, but it was very nice, and I thought it was much more productive.
Yeah, it felt like an educated one. All right, Gavin, it's 18. Okay, so question A, B, better known as Alpha and Bravo. What are you/your party going to do for the climate crisis?
What haven't we done? The Green Party has put the climate change on the agenda in Parliament for 30 years, and for years. And I'm thinking back to the work that Jeanette Fitzsimons did as one of the first co-leaders of the Green Party. It's important that we address the climate crisis. People in Auckland intimately know this because of the floods from the Auckland Anniversary Weekend, also with what happened up north, and also over the hill there in Hastings as well. But we need to do more. We need to make sure that we continue to bring down our emissions. We must mitigate our emissions, but also to support towns and cities to adapt for climate change, to have that climate resilience, and for us to support local councils to do that. And I also think about this in the wider context of where we are in the Pacific. We often say that we are a family of Pacific Islanders. We are doing all of this stuff. We need to think about it as a region as well, and supporting our Pacific Island communities who are on the front lines of climate change.
And thank you for cleaning us out of questions again. There's another successful show on questions. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes' time for hard-hitting questions. Sorry, that's my fault. I turned down the mixer so no one can actually hear us while we're having our break. Okay, so we're back here, and it's time for hard-hitting questions. Okay, so hard-hitting questions here are the questions we ask all candidates on the show on what get everyone give their answers and opinions. Tonight you're going to be having questions from two candidates here, and we're going to assume assume potential answers from the ghosts for the ones who haven't made it here tonight. So, and you can't use your button cards or your deferred question cards because, you're given an answer, so no need to butt in, and you can't defer it because they're getting an answer anyway. So, hard-hitting question number one. Will your party investigate the potential for a passenger rail service from Palmerston North to cities such as Wellington, Masterton, Napier, Hastings, Whanganui, and the further north? Teanua, would you like to kick this one off?
I like the sound of that. More people are off out of their cars and onto rail is better for the climate, and it's just more comfortable as well. And I just wanted to acknowledge the advocacy from people in the community, also from councillors as well, to sort of get a new improved capital connection, and acknowledging that there's going to be hybrid engines coming in as well. And that's a good thing. And if we had more services between Palmerston North and Wellington, that would be a great thing as well. And I was just thinking, because earlier, before folks tuned in, we were talking about the Warriors game as well, and how great it would be if you got a big game down in Wellington, they could chuck on a service and we could all head down there from Palmy and have a good night out. I think that would be a great thing as well. But also, I was talking to folks in Whanganui who would love it if they could get on a rail from Whanganui, get over to here and Palmerston North and get them closer to the hospital. So if you're unable to drive, then that puts you in it makes it very difficult for you to get to places as well. So having that connection would be really useful. So like this idea, and it is something that we would support.
Okay, Mike.
The connection between Palmerston North and Wellington, I think, has been amazing and been essential for a long period of time. And it excites me that you've got faster trains and even possibly cranking it up a little bit. I know we have had trains before when there's big events down in Wellington that have gone from Palmy down there and back again to test matches for All Blacks and that sort of stuff. So that, I think, is good, and I don't think we need to build on that. The other areas, I think it's going to be formidable for cost, and I don't know. I'd have to see the feasibility of it, and I'd have to see the cost of it. We're putting an amazing amount of money into the Gorge road, and that Gorge road is going to be something pretty good. It's going to connect the Wairarapa and the East Coast to us a lot faster and a lot more conveniently. So I think the money, as much as we've all spent doing that, I don't think we have the money to actually go through with the other things at this stage.
Okay, thank you for those answers. So now let's go to hard-hitting question number 2. What is the most pressing issue in your electorate currently? Mike?
Well, I think they're fairly obvious. The first one is cost of living. I think people are really struggling with the cost of living. I think it was created by this government when they decided to shut down every small business in New Zealand and allow 2 oligarchs to actually just pump their prices like you wouldn't believe with Countdown and foodstuffs. So we've got to come back from that. So I think that's a really important issue for people to work with. The next one is crime. I think the crime really needs to be addressed. I understand what Teanua is saying about crime and about mental health and those sorts of things, but we do actually first and foremost need to keep the community to be safe, and then we have to surround those people, but we can't allow those people to be in the community to make the community less safe than what it should be. And the last one's co-governance. I think there's a real division in New Zealand at the moment whereas an uneven proportion or a divisive population is not what we want. And I don't think anyone wants that. We want to move forward as one people and one nation.
Okay, Tuiono.
As I was saying earlier, the cost of living crisis, and here in Palmerston North, where we have a significant student population, and the People's Inquiry that we had last year, which Chloe Swarbrick led with student unions, showed that 2/3 of students experience hardship and poverty. So our solution to that is an income guarantee for students, for other people that have fallen out of work as well. So that will help to alleviate some of those situations that people are finding themselves in, along with the pledge to renters to making sure that people have a warm, decent, healthy home for them to live in. That's just so important. And that would do something as well. And another issue, just sort of talking about the duopoly, they have been ripping us hard off, and the way that people have dealt with that overseas, is something that we should think about as well, as a windfall tax, and that's something that we push for as well. If they didn't create the economic situations for that, then they should be taxed on it.
Okay, now here's what I believe is the most exciting time of every It's in the Ballot show. And that is the one to find out what would be the first private member's bill you'd put into the biscuit tin. Because as in theory, well, no, they don't call them private members bill. I've been told last night they call them members bills. So I got told that the word private has been dropped since we first created this question. But yes, what will be the first members bill you'd put into the biscuit tin if elected for the next term of Parliament? Tuiono. Oh.
I've been a member of Parliament, so I've already got members bills in. So you want to go? Oh, I could go. If you want.
Yeah, go while you work out what you're going to put in.
Because then you might not. Yeah. All right. So should I explain people know what a private member's bill is?
Actually, go and explain it. Yeah.
You got a fair idea? Yeah, right. So generally, you have like government bills because the government has formed the majority of the parties in the Parliament, either through an absolute majority like Labor this time, or within a coalition kind of arrangement or confidence supply or whatever. So those are the majority of the bills that go through the House. But you can also have local bills, which are things that come from like regional council, city council, and those sorts of things. There's not that many of them, but they do come through Parliament. And then you have the third type of bill, which is a private member's bill. So anybody right across the House, any member of Parliament can come up with a bill, put it into the biscuit tin. And when we mean biscuit tin, it is literally a biscuit tin. It's a for real biscuit tin, and that could be any member of Parliament, whether they're in opposition or government or independent or whatever. And then there's a kind of like a day where you've got to have X amount of members' bills on the ballot paper, and then they just draw them out one after another, and then it's up to that member to go around and talk to all the different political parties to see if they would support that bill. So it's not necessarily from a government MP; it could be from an opposition MP or wherever.
What private member bills have you had in the biscuit tin?
I've had two. I've actually got one that's going to be that has been actually drawn out of the ballot, and it's about removing a racist piece of legislation, just called which was passed in 1982 to strip away the citizenship rights of Samoan citizens at that particular time. The Privy Council found that they were citizens by right because New Zealand was the colonial power which administered Samoa at that time, and so they were trying to deport someone. They said, "Well, you can't deport me because I'm actually a citizen." And then the highest court of the land, the Privy Council, says, "She's right. You can't deport her. She does have a citizenship right." And so they unilaterally went against the highest court in the land and stripped away the citizenship rights of all of those people. There's still some of those people that are still with us today. We estimate just less than 5,000, so not that many. So I think it would be incredibly meaningful to allow a pathway for them to claim that. So that's one that I have that will be on the order paper in the next Parliament. And I had another one which hasn't been pulled, which was about stopping the launching of military payloads into outer space.
Okay. So, how have you come along with your first members bill?
And the one thing I'd say, I'd very much support that Samoan paper. Yes, because I think there's been a lot of injustices done for a very long time, and I think they were actually railroaded into New Zealand, exploited badly, and I think we have a lot to answer for with that. And I'd like to apologise for New Zealand for doing that to those people. But yeah, that's an interesting thing that you have. They're very dear to Teanua, and I haven't got anything that I'd put into that members bill at the moment. But I'm sure if I did get into Parliament and things did come up at the time, or speaking to my electorate, that if things did come up like that, I would not have hesitation to actually bring a bill to put in there at the time, or support other bills that are there.
Okay. So, we got a little bit of time here that we could put some quick fire questions. Was it Nick? What?
It looks like it came out at. It's a cylinder tin, and so what happens is they put like counters in. So like they'll line up. Okay, your bill is number 53 or whatever. Put it on a counter, and you'll chuck it in. Then they draw it out, and then they read it out on the news.
Did he know what? Yeah. Show it on the camera. Yeah, probably the easiest way to put it through there. God, that's going to be
That's right,
interesting.
folks. It is literally a biscuit tin. Keep it local, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So, we'll just pull out the comms channel. Just trying to think. In the first year of term of Parliament, what would be your primary method transporting yourself between Palmerston North and Wellington if successfully elected to Parliament? Who would like to go first?
In my diesel Peugeot 508.
Teanua?
If we had more regular trains, Capital Connection all the way.
Well, I'm glad no one said flying.
There's no planes, mate.
I did have one experience with Air Force experience in the ATC days, and our Kingi planes were cancelled because of bad weather. So we got rescheduled to fly in New Zealand, and our plane was meant to bunny hop. So we were going to catch a plane from Blenheim, Palmerston North to Wellington, and then Wellington to Blenheim, and then. And I thought, well, it was quite weird that we had planes that was like 35 minutes to fly there, but it took 90 minutes to drive. That really weirded out the concept. Later on, that flight got cancelled, so we had to go via Auckland. But it always bemused me of like an airport that is so close, or two cities are so close, that the fact that they were offering regular scheduled air flight services for such a short distance, which to me just felt like a bit of a waste of resources.
Yeah, well, totally, man. I used to live in France, and you could jump on a train and go boom, straight to Geneva or whatever,
and probably quicker than flying.
Yeah, it was pretty, pretty regular. Like rail's the way to go. A lot of cities just do it, and
The TVG in France travels at an average of about 500 kilometers an hour.
Oh heck, gee, that's faster than some of the commercial airplanes can actually fly at. Well,
they're gone.
Yeah.
It's more comfortable, man.
Yeah.
Train is way more comfortable.
It's not,
more
it's not
relaxed.
like New Zealand trains.
Yeah. I wonder if they can actually make a barista coffee in there.
In the train, yeah, man, in Europe.
There's bar.
Yeah.
Oh heck, the only train in New Zealand that used to have bar was Capital Connection.
Capital Connection, there's a bar.
Yeah, we bring that back.
Yeah, something else. Coffees. What is your preferred barista style coffee?
Mine's just a flat white, trim flat white actually.
Trim flat white.
Yeah, I've been drinking oat milk flat whites.
Okay, you'll fit in very well at Newtown Market, and remember your keep cups. Okay, let's get to closing statements. I think we know what coffees our candidates drink and how they would travel to and from Parliament. Okay, who would like to start off their closing statements of why they should receive the electoral vote?
Let's start with the National Party. Oh shit, they're not here.
Was it Labour next?
You asked them, mate.
Yes. So the ghost of Tangi Utikere, please give us your statement of why we should give you the electoral vote, and the camera on the empty chair and put down the timer.
Obviously, I think they've already got it in the bag.
Oh, we haven't had an answer. Okay, see you later. Finally, we got someone who actually did that too. Yes, and that was the incumbent as well. So I think that's quite fitting. Okay, so who would like to go first of the not the ghosts?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Kia ora, Palmerston North. My name is Tuiono. I'm a sitting MP for the Green Party. I want you to party vote Green this election if you want to have a Green progressive heart in government, pushing Labour to do the things that they should be doing. And so we're for the people, we're for the planet, we're for supporting communities and a stabilised climate, making sure that we can support all of our families to make sure that they can put food on the table, keep the lights on, pay their bills, and have something to dream for as well, making sure that we have those aspirations. And it is our role as political parties, as political representatives, to support those dreams and support those aspirations. So a vote for Greens is a vote for supporting whānau. A vote for the Greens is a vote for alleviating poverty. It's for community, climate, for people over profit, and supporting the planet. Kia ora.
Thank you. Mike.
Wow, that was good. Yeah. Hello, Palmerston North. I'd just like to thank this opportunity for me to stand for Palmerston North, for the ACT Party, and to push forward their values, the values of freedom, the value of freedom of speech. What we're going to look at doing is we're going to look at trying to be elected so we can provide real change to New Zealand, change in a pathway that requires a change in the spending by the government and reduction of the cost of living, and to make sure that we have safe communities. And so we're going to be tough on crime. And lastly, we want everyone to be acknowledged as being equal in New Zealand. And so therefore we will also be addressing co-governance. And so we'll be trying to make sure that we return to our democratic and sovereign state, whereby one person, one vote will be the legitimate process going forward. It's been a real pleasure to work with people in Palmerston North, and it's also been a real pleasure to work with the candidates in Palmerston North. I've found them very good to work with. Thank you.
Okay, and we do have a comment I'd like to do. Are you able to put the comment on the screen that has come through about the frustration that the big parties aren't here? You don't need to, we've got it on the, you don't need the cameras. But yeah, we have got the comment on. Yeah, thanks for that, Stacey, who's doing that remotely. It's quite interesting seeing that. Yes, we're a bit disappointed. We're still yet to have national. We've only had free Labour candidates. I am pleased that we did get the president of the Labour Party, though, to the Rongotai show, but that's what happens when the president is supporting her former WCC council colleague, who is the Rongotai candidate. But, you know, that's how small the world is. Okay. So, let's bring up the next shows for tomorrow. We'll be heading up to that lovely city called Whanganui, or some people call Wanganui, because they don't like to have the H in it. You know, actually, what does the city have? Does it have an H in it now or not? I know that the river had it, where the city didn't have it, but the
dialect.
Yes, dialect.
Said Wanganui, but it always had an H in it.
Yeah.
Just dropped it because of the dialect.
Sounds a bit like Porirua and Parirua. Yeah.
Like, whanga means like bay, so Whanganui means big bay.
Okay. Yeah, so we've got the Whanganui Electorate tomorrow, and the one that I'm going to shoot myself for if I don't actually say it right later. So that's 4 p.m. At the Stella Restaurant and Bar. We're in their functions room, and then we've got Te Tai Haruru. Ho-a-uru.
Uru is like west.
Go ho
and then and then uru.
Ho-a-uru.
Ho-a-uru. Well done, tēnā koe, kia ora.
Yes, yeah, no, that is the hardest Māori electorate name, I believe, to pronounce out there. Most of them I've had no trouble with for most of my life, but that's always one that's always scared me, and always been scared to get it wrong. Yeah, and on Tuesday, we'll be going to my good old friend's place, Chris Jury's organic farm in Waitara. Well, actually, it's in Tikarangi on the Taranaki King Country side of the boundary. We'll be staying there for the night, but we'll be having the New Plymouth Electorate at the New Plymouth Club. And then we're going to be driving like the clappers from New Plymouth to Road to Vegas. We'll have both Waitariki and the Rotorua show, and we'll be having a nice day watching over the top of Lake Rotorua, which I haven't been there for a while, but I've been told that there's it's about that much water is the gap between the road and the lake at the moment. So it's been taking a little bit of a while to feed it, to drain itself, but these are things I found out from local knowledge. Can I thank our two candidates for coming tonight, Teanua and Mike?
You may thank us.
Yeah. Can I also thank, Mind Blank for not coming? For not coming. That wasn't what I was thinking about. It was actually meant to say Nick and Alex, who
Thanks, guys behind the camera.
yeah, who are the people behind the cameras. Nick doing cameras, Alex doing the control desk? Well, we alternated our roles. I was doing that for Utikere, because we're using the goodbye pork pie budget model, is the best way to describe it. And can we also thank Stacey for remote editing today? And was Ray in remote editing? Can you tell that in my ear, or is it just Stacey? It's just Stacey. Okay. But we'd like to thank Ray for, because we've got to thank him. He's part of the team who's helped make the show happen. And I'd like to thank you, the viewers and the audience, for being here tonight. It's a pleasure, even if it is enough that I can count on my hand. It's not been easy to advertise in Palmerston North. We had very little success in social media advertising in this area, with most of our posts being declined, which doesn't help you, the voters. I don't know, fussy Facebook admins. That's all right. In Karori, I got booted out and banned from the group for promoting It's in the Ballot. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it's just one of those things. It's a shame that some people like to suppress this great format, an informative format, and I'd say another civilized show. I mean, at this rate, we might have the Manawatu Standard writing up a nice lovely report to match the Wairarapa Times. And we what's the Whanganui local paper? Yeah. Times Age, yeah. Yeah, is it Chronicle? Yeah, I think that one's Chronicle. Yeah. So yes, we might have that in tomorrow's paper. And before we get to, I can't even think what New Plymouth's papers were. Oh, fine. Oh, The Guardian. Is that the local freebie? Local freebie. Oh, nice. Oh, and their journalists can rewatch the show in their own time. Okay. Yeah, good idea. Yeah, and I'll get our EA to send it across to do a press release and let them know about it, and get something put in the paper. Okay, and possibly the empty seats. So we'll see you all back here tomorrow at 4 p.m. for the Whanganui Electorate. See you tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon. Good night.